Hey everyone, I'm going to tell you the story of the legendary Bitcoin bear whale. It's one of my favorite Bitcoin lore stories. So there was this guy, it's 100% a true story. There was this guy back in 2014 who had accumulated 30,000 Bitcoin. Now at today's price of about 60,000 a coin, that is worth $1.8 billion. So this guy is sitting on $1.8 billion of Bitcoin, 30,000 Bitcoin. And he starts succumbing to fear, uncertainty, and doubt. FUD, F-U-D, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And that FUD was related to stuff that Roger Ver and others were saying that ultimately turned into the block size wars between 2015 and 2017. And this was just the very early days of it. Anyway, so this guy succumbed to the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And at the time, Bitcoin was trading for about $325 per coin, 325. And so he wakes up one morning with 30,000 Bitcoin, which he had bought for $250,000. So if he had held on to it, that $250,000 would have been worth $1.8 billion. At the time, though, it was worth $9 million. So he had $250,000 of Bitcoin that was worth $9 million. And he thought, I'm getting out. I'm liquidating. I'm out of this thing. I just can't take it anymore. The news stories, the fear, uncertainty, doubt, he just couldn't handle anymore. So he walks over to his computer. He decides he does not want to spend all day meticulously selling a little bit at a time. He walks over to his computer. Bitcoin's trading at $325 a coin. And he puts in a sell order for his entire 30,000 Bitcoin at $300 a coin. Now, if you try to sell something for $25 a coin less than the market rate, you flatline the market. Basically, nobody can sell anything unless they underbid you. And the market demand was at $325 a coin. So he's coming in at $300 a coin. He's basically just dumping. So for hours on end, right now, if you check the Bitcoin price, it goes up and down. But for hours on end, if you check the Bitcoin price, you would see a flat line at exactly $300. And only a few blips here and there where somebody was so desperate to sell that they were actually willing to underbid his $300 a coin, even though market demand was about $325 per coin. So anyway, it was crazy. People were going wild on the internet, trying to figure out who the bear whale was, what was his motivations, what could this mean, why was the price of Bitcoin flatline for hours upon hours upon hours. And ultimately, after some number of hours, I think it was like 4 or 5 hours, but I'm forgetting the specifics. After about 4 or 5 hours, finally the marketplace had absorbed his entire 30,000 Bitcoin stash. Now he got his $9 million. Of course, it could have been worth way more, but he got his $9 million. And nobody for years knew who this guy was, but he was labeled the bear whale, bear, because he was bearish on Bitcoin. He was selling, and that typically means is bear versus bull. And whale, because 30,000 is a whole lot. So whales are a term for, very large holders. So the bear whale dumped 30,000 Bitcoin all at one time. It dropped the price in the market from 325 to 300 and basically flatlined it for hours upon hours upon hours until the buyers overcame that selling pressure. And then the market returned to normal and it started going up and down like it normally does, minute by minute, hour by hour, etc. So nobody knew who this guy was. And years later, the person posted a message and said, "Hey, I'm the bear whale." It was an anonymous message, but he had digitally signed it with the same cryptographic key of the seller of all of that Bitcoin. So everybody could tell that it was indeed him that was the bear whale. And anyway, so he signed it with the cryptographic key and said, "I'm the bear whale, and here's the story." And he shared his story about how he succumbed to fear, uncertainty, and doubt. He had bought the Bitcoin for $250,000. He sold it for $9 million. And he said, I think this was like March or April of the year. He said by the end of the year, he had done the research, overcome the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Now, the price of Bitcoin had gone from $325 a coin to $1,000 a coin, but he bought it all back. So he bought it back for triple the price he sold it for, meaning instead of 30,000 Bitcoin, he ended up for the exact same dollar value with about 9,000 Bitcoin. So that's still worth, somewhere this anonymous guy is worth $600 million-ish, 500 million, $600 million that could have been $1.8 billion had he not succumbed to fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And back then in the early days of Bitcoin, of course, there was a lot more reason to succumb to fear, uncertainty, and doubt because everything was much more uncertain and much earlier in the process. So anyway, that's the story of the bear whale. It's one of my favorite stories. It's fun to go watch the Bitcoin price back in 2014 for those few hours when it flatlined, because it's just, I'm not aware of any time in Bitcoin's history where it's bouncing around like any stock or bond or any publicly traded asset where the price is changing every few seconds. And then suddenly it just drops by $25 a coin and then just flatlines for hours. Like, I'm not aware that that's ever happened before. But it was, anyway, it's fun to read about. It's fun to, think about. It's fun to just, one of the many really cool stories in Bitcoin's history. So if you want to read more about it, just Google bear whale, B-E-A-R, space W-H-A-L-E, and put the word Bitcoin before or after. So either Bitcoin bear whale or bear whale Bitcoin. If you Google that, or ask ChatGPT or any other AI engine, it will tell you a lot more details about the Bitcoin bear whale. And anyway, in a much smaller sort of microcosm, we're dealing with bear whales with Mt. Gox and Celsius and even the US government now, the government of Germany, none that are of the magnitude of this guy. Obviously, some are selling more than 30,000 coins now, like Germany. I think they sold 50,000, but they did it over the course of like 3 weeks, not over the course of like, 4 or 5 hours. The entire trading volume in Bitcoin back then was about 27 million a day. So he was basically dumping 1/3 of the entire trading volume of all of Bitcoin worldwide trading on the market at one instant in time. And that was about 1/3 of worldwide trading volume. And worldwide trading volume now is more like $27 billion a day, not 27 million. So anyway, fun story. When I first discovered the Bitcoin bear whale, I had a lot of fun just reading all the blog posts and looking at all the speculation and going and watching the YouTube videos where you can see the trading flatline for hours, and just reading up on what it used to be like for those that were deep in the world of Bitcoin. And this guy that once upon a time had 30,000 Bitcoin, sold them all and then bought them all back, but now only has 9,000 because he bought them for triple the price he sold them for. So don't be a bear whale, but you have the opportunity to benefit from bear whales, to be buying when they are selling. So